In this lesson, we're going to be learning how to paint hair, and we're going to go from hair that looks like this to hair that looks like this. Now, this week's lesson is going to be geared toward the beginner, so I'm going to walk you through all the steps from mixing the paint all the way up to glazing the layers on top of each other to create relatively realistic looking hair. We're going to be using a lot of negative techniques within this video, so that means we're going to be using erasers, X-Acto blades, and some old airbrush needles to remove the paint from the canvas. And if you struggled with painting hair in the past or found it difficult, try these techniques. I bet you'll be surprised what you're able to achieve. Just don't give up on your paintings and understand that mistakes are a good thing and they're going to help you improve. So before we get into the painting, I want to talk about some common mistakes and misconceptions when painting hair. And the first and most important thing is the way that we see hair. Let's take a look at a cropped and zoomed in image of one of the most famous portraits of all time. You may or may not recognize the image you're looking at right now, but it definitely does not look like hair that we're looking at. To me, this basically looks like old, dark or brown paint that's chipping and has some cracks in it. But as we start to zoom out, I can guarantee that everyone recognizes this painting right away. This is, of course, the Mona Lisa by Leonardo. Like all other painters of the Italian Renaissance, Leonardo painted hair using light and shadow. As we're looking at this painting, we could see that there's no individual hairs painted, yet we see this as hair. On average, the human scalp consists of about 100,000 individual hair follicles. If we're looking at a picture of someone or talking to someone in real life, there's no way we're seeing 100,000 individual hairs. What we are observing are thousands and thousands of hairs clumped together, forming locks of hair. And these thousands of hairs grouped together catch and reflect light just like anything else in nature. So another way to think about it is that when you're observing someone's hair, you're not actually seeing individual hair follicles. What you are seeing are masses of highlights and shadows of individual hairs grouped together. So let's relate this idea back to painting. When we're painting hair, all we're really doing is creating an illusion of it. To put it in simpler terms, all we need to do is place highlights and shadows in the correct areas, and we'll get the effect that looks like hair. On the left side of the screen, I'm placing up the completed painting that you could use as your reference. And on the right side of the screen, I have the reference photo that I used as a guide. To simplify this, I went into Photoshop and erased everything but the hair. Now I did this for new painters because sometimes if you're looking at a full portrait and you're looking at the face and all the details, it may get overwhelming thinking that you're going to have to paint all this in and get it correct. So this way, if you focus on one part, it simplifies everything. This hair color is going to be brunette with some warm tones to it. So using Createx illustration colors, I'm adding about 10-15 drops of burnt umber, then about 8 or 10 drops of sepia, and a few drops of black. I like my paint on the thinner side, so I'm using about 5 to 10 drops of distilled water. Any type of water-based reducer will work just fine as well. I just prefer water because it seems to break down the binders, making the paint easier to erase. If you use water, make sure you're using distilled water. This is really important. Just go to the supermarket. You could buy a gallon of it for like $1. Once this color is mixed up, you're going to see that we get a color that looks like this, kind of like a dark brown. Now this color is going to be transparent, meaning that there's no white in it. So we're going to adjust the values, meaning how dark and how light the paint is, by how much we spray. Out of the bottle, this looks very dark, almost like a black. And to keep this lesson simple, this is the only color we're going to be using throughout this whole painting. The airbrush I'm using is an Iwata Custom Micron, but you could use any airbrush you'd like. Throughout this entire painting, I'm going to be spraying at 20 psi. Now since this painting lesson is for practice, don't worry about trying to get the hair exactly like the reference, just freehand sketch the basic shapes you see. We're not trying to paint an exact replica of the photo reference, so whatever you sketch in will be just fine. The goal here is to add in these highlights and these shadows to make whatever you have down start to look like hair. Now with that color mix, we're going to start adding some paint to the canvas, and this is very important to understand that what I'm doing here is I'm painting in shadows. If I want the lines defined, I'll use a shield to help sharpen them, but otherwise the majority of this I'm going to be doing freehand. So let's put up the finished painting on the left side of the screen. This way we could see what we're painting towards. If you look at the reference painting, you'll see that I'm painting in this shadow right here. So the way I'm doing this is holding the airbrush right off the surface, about an inch or so, and I'm holding down the trigger the whole time. This is important. I'm not lifting my trigger up and down to stop the air. I want that air continually flowing. So as I'm painting in these shadows, what I'm doing is I'm adding some texture to it. So you can see as I'm painting this, I'm basically spraying small thin lines. The purpose of spraying in lines is it adds some depth to the shadows, so the shadows just aren't a solid block of paint. When you come in later and switch over to an X-Acto blade to pull out some highlights, in these shadows it's going to look like there's some more things going on, basically like some hairs in the background, maybe some softer ones out of focus. It's just an easy way to make the image look more complicated than it actually is. I'm doing the best I can to start and stop these lines in different areas. This way it just helps the image look a little bit more natural. If you start and stop in the same spot every time, it's going to look way too sterile. It's not going to look like hair. So just try to play around with it. You can kind of keep it on the messy side, but it's very important to follow the direction that the hair is flowing. You could see that it's flowing from the top and then kind of curving over down toward the left. So I'm just doing the best I can to try to follow those curves with my lines. At the point we're at right now, it may look like the lines that I painted in are the actual hairs, but it's not. Remember that these are the shadows. It's natural to think that since hair is thousands of small thin lines, if you just paint in thousands of small lines, it's going to look like hair, but that's never the case. If you try to paint in hundreds or thousands of lines, you're going to get hair that looks like this. Now, this is generally the way that a kid will paint hair because they don't really understand the way that we see hair and ultimately how to paint it. So you'll never get the true effect of hair just by painting in a bunch of lines. You really have to focus on those highlights and shadows because the highlights are going to look like a curve, basically, of a form moving toward us, and then as it moves into shadow, it starts moving away from us, and that's going to give that 3D effect, that look that we're going for when we're painting hair. So going back to our painting, I'm continually adding in these thin hairs. Now, since this paint is transparent, the more we add, the darker it's going to get. So if you look at the reference photo here, you'll see that we want some really dark areas in a section like this over here. And as I spray more paint, I'm slowly reaching that value. And that's the way we want to do that. We want to make sure we go slow and controlled. As we add in these lines, not only are we getting some subtle textures in these shadows, but we're also darkening the paint, eventually reaching that dark value. At the point I'm at right now, I want to point out a few things that I'm thinking about. So here, I basically have my shadows and highlights mapped out. So you can see right here, this is one of the shadows, and right above it, it's another shadow. And then right here, we have this large mass of a highlight. And I'm just adding some subtle texture over the top of it. And when I spray some paint over the top of it, that gives me something to erase into because we're going to switch over to an X-Acto blade and an eraser to pull out some highlights. And the only way we could do that is to have some paint down on that canvas. I want to point out that I'm not just randomly adding in some lines over the top of this. I'm always following the flow of the hair. We see that the hair is flowing from the right down over to the left. So I want to make sure every single line I paint in follows that trajectory. Once I get a section in that I feel comfortable with and I feel like I could start adding the highlights, then I'll switch over to the X-Acto blade. So that's what I'm going to do now. We have a good chunk of this hair mapped in, so we can start pulling out some highlights. Any type of X-Acto blade will work just fine for this as long as it comes to a sharp point at the end. You could even use an old razor blade. Those work fine too. They're just a little bit harder to hold on to. Now, everyone seems to have different opinions on the way that you should hold the X-Acto blade when pulling out highlights. Personally, I don't think it matters. I like to hold it like a pencil. As you know, we're painting on gessoed canvas here. So the reason I really like using canvas is because you could be very aggressive with the blade while pulling out highlights. As you can see, the highlights we're pulling out right now are basically in a curve. It's like an arc shape. And when you try to do this with a razor blade, you're going to learn pretty quickly that the razor blade wants to pull out highlights in a linear path. So when you try to pull out that curve with the razor blade, you're going to notice that it's going to want to stop and then start going in a straight line. So the way I get around this is I use a lot of pressure. And when you're using canvas, you can do this. You're not going to worry about cutting into it or destroying the canvas. It'll pull it out the highlights just fine. I also like to move the X-Acto blade very quickly. This helps add some more randomness to these highlights. So although I want to add some randomness, I also still want to follow the curves of the hair. So you can think of it like controlled randomness. There's two things that I want to point out. First, when you're pulling out highlights here, you're removing all the paint. So what you're seeing for the highlight is pure white gessoed canvas. So obviously these highlights are way too bright. That's fine. That's what we want for this part. We're eventually going to glaze some of that paint that we mixed in the beginning right over the top of it to create a gradient from dark to light. And the other thing is that while you're using a razor blade to pull out highlights, you're going to develop a burr at the bottom of the blade. And what that is a piece of metal bent over in one direction. So as you're pulling out highlights, you're going to notice that the blade's going to want to pull out in one direction better than it will in the other direction. So if you feel like, the paint's not pulling out, try switching the other way. So if you're going left to right, try right to left and see if the paint pulls out easier. One thing that I like to do is use a small ceramic sharpening stone and then run the X-Acto blade over it. I run it from the bottom up to the top. This way it's going to set the burr in the opposite direction. Sometimes it's difficult to use the X-Acto blade in a certain direction, so using a sharpening stone lets you set the burr in the direction that you'd like, so you can pull out highlights any way you'd like. It's just a nice, easier way to give yourself some more control. So while I'm pulling out highlights, what I like to do is focus on one section of the canvas. I don't like to jump around from one section to another. If I focus on one area, I could really put all my effort into that one section and do the best I can to replicate what I see from the reference. As you can see, I just pulled out the highlights toward the lower part of this bang here. Now I'm going to pull out another highlight, basically another lock of hair just above it. And I'm going to kind of run this one parallel, but you can see I'm leaving a gap between that first highlight and the second one. And that gap is eventually going to be a shadow. When we use the paint to glaze over the top of this, I'll add some more paint in there to darken it up. So at this point, you don't have to worry too much if the hair doesn't look the way you want it to, or you feel like it looks a little messy, because we're going to switch over to our transparent glaze and we're going to start painting that over the top of this. As we do that, all these highlights are going to get pushed down toward the background, and if you don't like any of them, you could spray more paint over them, basically erasing them, and give you a dark area that you could basically scratch out into again and essentially start over. So using this technique is pretty forgiving. It's just important to stay light and try not to get too aggressive with that first layer of paint. The highlights that I have in right now kind of look messy to me, right? It doesn't look like perfect hair. They're a little sloppy in some areas, but it's not a big deal because now I'm switching back to the paint that we mixed in the beginning of this video, and I'm starting to apply it over the top. Now here, we're going to darken some of these shadows, and we're also going to apply gradients to these highlights. Now when I say gradient, I mean a transition from dark to light back to dark again. So for the hair, this is going to help create a 3D look. When we're looking at an individual lock of hair, where it's dark toward the top here, it's going to look like it's farther away. And then as it moves into the highlight, it's going to look like it's getting closer to us. And then again, we're going to add some darkness on the other side, and it's going to look like it's moving farther away. So we're going to help get or generate that 3D effect. And in the beginning of the video, I mentioned that we're painting an illusion of hair, which is really what we're doing. We're not actually painting in hair. We're just painting in highlights and shadows to replicate what we'd see when we look at hair. So a good way to do this is add some paint in the darker area, and as you go up to a lighter area, just use less. You could move the airbrush farther away from the surface, or you could also push further down on the trigger. That way you're not spraying out as much paint. Eventually, as you practice this, you'll be able to figure out how far you need to pull back on the trigger to apply a certain amount of paint, so you could really control those values with some practice. Now I'm going to add some more layers in here while speeding up the video, and I'm going to do these kind of messy just to show you that if you make mistakes, it's not a big deal. I'm intentionally pulling out too much paint here and pulling out some of these strands in wrong directions, but I want to show you that that's not really going to affect us, because when I switch back to the airbrush and glaze the transparent paint over the top, I can knock most of these values back down. And this emphasizes the point that it really doesn't matter how you pull out the highlights. Even if they're messy, you could still get an effect that looks like hair just by having those shadows and highlights in the right areas and having a nice smooth gradient or a transition between those. To build up the hair and get a lot of depth to it, you want to just keep adding layers and layers of this. So it's the same process over and over. Some paint goes down, then you scratch into it to remove the paint, and then you add another layer of paint on top of that. And that's called a glaze, that second layer, because what that's doing is a transparent layer of paint is going over those highlighted areas, and they're going to darken them down, and they're also going to shift the hue from that white gesso back to that brownish color that we mixed. And what we're going to do is apply the same technique throughout the rest of the hair. Anywhere you see a highlight, what you want to do is switch over to that X-Acto blade and essentially pull it out pure white right down to gessoed canvas. When you're using the X-Acto blade, you're not using it to get a transition from, a dark tone to a light tone. You're just scratching out paint. Once that area is scratched out and you have it pure white, now you could adjust it to get that transition from dark to light using your transparent paint in your airbrush. And when I spray this paint over the highlights that we pulled out, I'm not really spraying in hairs or anything like that. I'm just trying to think of what area I want dark and what area I want light just by spraying the paint in those areas. So I really hope that I'm explaining this well and I'm not confusing anyone. This definitely can be slightly tricky in the beginning, but once you figure it out, you'll understand where to put those those values in and how to use that X-Acto blade to pull those highlights out. Now, as you can see here, I'm switching over to an eraser, and when you use an eraser to pull out highlights, you're going to get some very soft transitions. So this is nice to kind of blend in some areas of highlight into shadows. And you could use your eraser right over the X-Acto blade lines because it's going to help soften that up, and they're not going to disappear because this is not paint. You're just erasing some of that glaze that you put on top of it. So it kind of gives you some varying textures. The eraser looks like some softer lines, and that may look like some hair farther away, and those sharp X-Acto blade lines are going to look like hair catching light closer to us. The more variety in textures that you have, the more convincing of an image you're going to get. And like I've talked about in all my other videos, the most important thing to practice and learn is your observation skills. So try using those skills right here. Look where I have shadows and highlights toward the lower part of this hair and decide for yourself which techniques you use to add these in. Maybe you decided that using the eraser before using the X-Acto blade is a better way to pull out some highlights, or that it's better to use an old airbrush needle to pull out your highlights. The point that I'm trying to make is that there's not a right way to do this. You could pull out highlights any way you like. You could even use opaque white paint to pull out highlights. I'm not using that here because, as I've discussed in all my other videos, white paint can get tricky. You get that blue shift, but it does work just fine to get some really nice soft highlights. Experiment with different techniques, watch different videos, and decide for yourself the best way to approach your paintings. So I feel like this video is getting longer than I expected it to be. The only thing I didn't talk about were those flyaway hairs on the left side of the screen, and all that was just flicking out thin lines with the airbrush freehand. Just make sure you take your time and you don't rush, because when you rush, it tends to make it more stressful than it needs to be. And if this is your first time painting hair, don't worry if you didn't get it right your first time around. You eventually will. It's just a bit of practice and you'll improve each time. You could of course take your hair much further and get it way more photorealistic, but I think this kind of fits in the middle ground between photorealism and a beginner style painting. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, just leave them down below and I'll get back to you to help you out. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.